Fans of Danny Koker thought that he was done with acting after Counting Cars ended. He had to pay $2. They were suing him for $7 million. His marriage was in chaos, and he had lost 35 pounds because of the stress. But in 2024, the Count shocked everyone. It only took a few months for his new business to double the $15 million a year that his old program made. The real surprise, though, had nothing to do with cars. Today we're going to talk about the untold story of how Danny Koker rebuilt his business and why some fans say he's hard to recognize. He was born on January 5, 1964, in Cleveland, Ohio. His whole family was interested in cars. Because his father, Danny Koker Sr., was an executive at Ford, Danny's life has been heavily affected by motorcycles and cars from the start. A lot of people in his family worked in the auto business, including uncles, cousins, and other family members. However, there was one more thing that made his family tree unique. His father wasn't just interested in cars, he was also very good at music. He played the piano and sang for the Cathedral Quartet, a well-known Southern gospel group. This mix of music and cars had an effect on Danny that no one could have predicted. Before he was 11 years old, he was already playing music on stage at Carnegie Hall. Danny's father gave him a motorbike when he was 8 years old. Not only was it a thank you gift, but it also marked the start of a big project. Danny took it apart piece by piece instead of just riding it, and then he put it back together again. At that moment, he realized how much he liked figuring out how things worked. After that, he spent all of his time taking cars and bikes apart, fixing them and making them better. As a youngster, he was already working on car projects with his father and taught himself everything he needed to know. Danny learned a lot from the instructions and car parts that his dad brought home from Ford. He didn't have any advanced training, just a lot of practice and a strong desire to learn. His work on improving engine speed and car cooling systems began when he was 16 years old. One of his first and most important projects was his first car, a 1979 Camaro Z28. Danny wasn't like other teens who would have left the car alone. He turned it into a race car that could be driven on the street. He faced huge problems, but he eventually got past them. By age 18, he had shown everyone that he could handle difficult tasks, even though he hadn't gone to school for them. Things got even more interesting from here on out. In 1990, Danny started doing something he had never done before. He switched jobs and became a host on Saturday Fright at the Movies, a late-night horror movie show. Every Saturday, he played Count Coolrider and introduced corny horror flicks. People in Las Vegas watched. He added his unique sense of fun to the show while dressed as a vampire in a cape and sunglasses. His character liked old cars, motorbikes, and Elvis, just like Danny. He even started to tell jokes with a funny accent that came from the fact that his grandparents were from Yugoslavia. Not only were the movies on the show, but Danny's love of music and cars made it even more entertaining. A lot of people loved it. His nickname, the Count, stuck around even after the show finished in 2001. Danny didn't end there. He turned his love of cars into a business in 1998 by opening a small shop in Las Vegas called Count's Customs. Customizing motorcycles was what the shop did best, and the name came from his TV character. Danny had a special style. He wasn't just fixing cars and bikes, he was making them look like works of art. A 1932 Ford Roadster was one of his first big projects. People knew the Count's traditions were unique as soon as they saw them. People quickly told their friends about Count's Customs, and business began to pick up. By 2002, Danny had to move to a bigger place because he had too much work. He moved on from bikes to old cars and even started making parts just for specific cars. When Danny got a call from Ozzy Osbourne in 2004, his life would never be the same again. Danny made Ozzy a custom motorbike that he asked for. The bike was beautiful with bat-themed features and paint that sparkled. It got attention across the country and made Counts Customs a well-known brand. The shop kept getting bigger over time. It wasn't just a store anymore. Danny made it a real business by 2010. He also started to sell things and opened a tattoo shop and a rock bar called Counts Vamped. Danny's interest had grown into something much bigger than he had thought possible. Counts Customs grew and now has a 300 square foot workshop with more than 50 workers. On July 19, 2009, Danny Koker's rise to fame sped up. He first appeared on Pawn Stars to look at a 1968 Mustang GT Fastback. He was already well known in Las Vegas and owned Counts Customs at that point. The owner of Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, Rick Harrison, wanted someone who knew a lot about old cars. Danny's charm and skill were straightaway apparent, and the crowd loved him. He was in 23 shows of Pawn Stars over the next 3 years and became a fan favorite. The Count used to run a local horror movie show, but his next appearance almost went horribly wrong. A big fight broke out between him and Rick over how much a 1957 Chevy Bel Air was worth. The fight got so bad that Danny stormed off the set, which made the directors step in. Later, Rick called Danny and told him that he would have more power over when he was on the show. Their relationship on screen quickly became one of the best things about the show. The idea for Counting Cars came to life in June 2011. Brent Montgomery, a producer from Left Field Pictures, was shooting for Pawn Stars at Count Customs when he saw Danny negotiating the sale of a rare 1970 Plymouth Superbird. Danny's quick offer of $75,000 showed how much he loves cars. Montgomery thought that this would make a great TV show. Counting Cars first aired on the History Channel on August 13, 2012. The show showed Danny and his team as they bought, fixed up, and sold old cars and motorbikes. It stood out because it showed the whole process in great detail, from Danny finding the car to its unveiling after being restored. It was a full circle in the first episode, which showed the restoration of a 1968 Mustang Fastback, the same model that Danny had evaluated on Pawn Stars. 3 people watched the History Channel, 1 million people, which is a lot more than their normal number of viewers. The show was an instant hit, and more episodes were ordered right away. Within 2 weeks, shooting started up again. Man, you're everywhere. My job is to turn over stones. I dig in people's backyards and peek into garage doors all the time. The show quickly became one of the most watched on the History Channel. That number went up to 2 by the end of the first season. 9 million people watch each show. It even did better than Pawn Stars sometimes. Counting Cars was shown in 150 countries and turned into 38 languages by 2014. Germany watched more of it than any other country, with 1.5 million people watch each show, but Counting Cars had effects that were not predicted. Las Vegas cops said that 37% more classic cars were stolen in 2015 than the previous year. The police thought that the show made criminals want to target the cars that were shown. Danny had to send out tips telling people who own cars to be extra careful. The popularity of the show was also helped by Danny's unique looks. He had long hair, a beard, and all-black clothes with skull patterns. His style wasn't just for TV, it showed how much he loved rock music. His band Count 77 showed another side of his strange personality. Fans appreciated how Danny was able to combine his love of music and cars so well. He wasn't just into cars, he was the Count, a famous figure who made his mark in both fields. Danny Koker's business sense and car skills were very important to his success. A poll done in 2016 found that most people watched the show because they liked the way Danny behaved. There were also some funny oddities about Danny. He thought that a leather jacket he had had since 1989 would help him get good deals on cars. He never washed it, and there was over $10,000 stitched in a pocket so that he could buy things on the spot. On November 5, 2013, Danny showed how big his heart was in a single act. He fixed up an old Corvette from 1981 that belonged to a Vietnam veteran who had died. When Danny gave the car to the veteran's widow, he was so moved that he cried during the reveal. With 4 million people watched this episode, making it the most watched in the show's history. For Danny Koker to be successful, he needs to work hard, be creative, and be dedicated. Because of how popular his TV show Counting Cars was, his business Counts Customs grew very quickly. The business had grown from a small 7,000 square foot area to a huge 400 square foot building by 2018. With this addition, Danny was able to take on bigger and more exciting tasks. By 2020, his team of more than 50 skilled workers would have finished 75 custom builds each year, a big jump from the few that had been done before the show. Clients were ready to wait up to 18 months for his unique designs, and his signature work cost a lot. By 2019, the shop was making more than $15 million a year, which is a big jump from its first year of sales of $500,000. In addition, Danny started selling clothing and accessories with the Count's Customs name, which brought in an extra $3 million a year for the business by 2021. Danny didn't end there. He began selling a line of rare car parts for classic repairs in 2017. By 2022, these parts had brought in 20% of the shop's income. He also started classes and training programs for people who wanted to learn how to restore cars, which made his business even more of a leader in the field. Famous people came to Danny to get his special touch on their cars because of his skills. In 2016, Ozzy Osbourne hired him to build a motorbike just for him. It cost more than $150,000 and took 6 months to finish. The motorbike was a work of art because it had a powerful 124 cubic inch engine and hand-painted bat wings. In 2018, NBA star LeBron James asked for a 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air to be fixed up. The interior was purple and gold to look like the Lakers, and the job took 8 months. It also had a state-of-the-art sound system. Automobile magazines wrote a lot about the car, and it was worth more than $500,000. A big project for the Las Vegas Mob Museum in 2020 was also worked on by Danny. In the 1960s and 1970s, mobsters often used cars with bulletproof glass and hidden chambers, which he fixed up 5 old Cadillacs. The $2.5 million project got a lot of attention from the media and was even turned into a TV special. Danny's list of well-known clients kept growing. A $1 million restoration of John Lennon's 1965 Rolls-Royce Phantom V was one of his hardest projects, which he finished successfully in 2022. It took 2 years and required getting rare parts from 3 different countries. In 2012, Danny opened Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill in Las Vegas, which was his second business venture. The business quickly became a popular spot for people who liked both cars and music. On the walls were rare rock memorabilia, and from the roof were old motorcycles. The bar stood out in Las Vegas's busy party scene by having live music every night. Danny added a big outdoor patio with a stage and a rotating display of classic cars from his collection to the bar in 2015 because it was so popular. This meant that the venue could hold big events like Rocktoberfest, which has over 1,000,000 people every year. Danny teamed up with a brewery in 2018 to make Count's Custom Brew, a line of handmade beers that can be found in Nevada bars and stores. By the year 2022, the bar had 75 employees, over 500 shows a year, and made over $8 million profit. Danny also followed his love of music by starting a band in 2013 called Count 77. He became the lead singer, and some of the best bands in Las Vegas played behind him. When their first record came out in 2014, it had a strong rock sound that made me think of the 1970s. The album Counts 77 reached number 26 on the Billboard Hard Rock chart, and their song was played on a lot of radio stations. The band's first national tour, which included 50 shows across the U.S., began in 2016, and making more than $2 million. They put out their second record, Soul Transfusion, in 2017. It was even more popular than the first one, reaching number 15 on the Billboard Hard Rock chart. They had a big hit with Summer of '77, which made it to number 22 on the Adult Contemporary chart in 2018. Big events like Rocklahoma have seen the band play in front of 400,000 people. On a luxury ship, they put out 4 albums and sold over 500,000 copies by 2022. They also started a yearly event called Count's Rock Cruise, where fans could see performances by Count 77 and other classic rock bands. People wanted to go on the trip so badly that it sold out months ahead of time. Danny Koker's life behind the scenes of counting cars was not exciting, even though he was successful. When it first aired on August 13, 2012, the show became very famous very quickly, but Danny's real life was much tougher. He would sometimes work up to 18-hour shifts for weeks at a time without taking a single day off. It started to hurt from all the stress. It was scary for those around him when, in 2015, he lost 35 pounds in just 3 months. It was hard to keep up with all the duties of filming and running Count's costumes. In an interview in 2018, Danny said that because he was busy shooting, he had to turn down about 37 custom jobs a month. This caused a loss of almost $4 million a year for his store. There were still problems to solve. Danny and the producers had a lot of disagreements, mostly about how dramatic the show was made to be. Things got really bad on March 3, 2019, when the producers asked him to make up a customer disagreement. Danny got angry and left the set, which stopped work for 3 days and cost $180,000. Danny's personal life was also changed by the show at the same time. He missed 8 important family events because he had to film, including his nephew's wedding. In a podcast from 2020, he talked about how lonely he felt because of it. Danny was still committed to his work even though it was making him more stressed. He put $2 million into growing Count's Customs to make his name even more famous. Danny put $3 million into Count's Customs in 2021 to make it better. A new season of Counting Cars had been released, so the summer was going to be very hot for custom cars. Earlier that week, I had the chance to meet with the Count. Danny, on the other hand, ran into legal problems. In 2014, a couple said they paid $111,000 for a 1967 Ford Mustang and $39,000 for work to fix it up, but they never got the car. They took Counts Customs to court and asked for $50,000. Even worse, their lawyer told them that an employee had promised that their car would be on the show and even offered them $20,000 worth of free upgrades. The media went crazy over this, and more than 27 news outlets reported on the tale. Counts Customs accused former worker Joseph Frontiera of stealing $75,000 in 2017, which made things worse. He was accused of buying a Range Rover and plane tickets with company money, which led to a $188,000 IRS fine for the company. The shop was also said to have charged 17 past customers up to 300% too much. A $7 million lawsuit was brought against them, which was the worst thing that could have happened to Danny's image. There were legal fees, which added up to a loss of more than $1,200,000. Danny even thought about selling some of his cars to get the money he needed. At the same time, doubts were raised about how real the program was. My wife's car is crazy. What year is it again? 1970? Convertible. Carnet Plum. Crazy 440 automatic. In 2016, a paper that got out showed that many random events like finding a car were planned ahead of time. Internet use dropped by 32% in just 1 month, and fans felt deceived. Things got worse in 2018 when former group member M. Scott Jones said that 70% of the drama on the show was made up, including how the clients reacted. In a 2019 video that went viral, a team member was seen putting a "for sale" sign on a car right before Danny discovered it. Because of this, the show's makers had to say that some parts of it were fake. In 2020, a former client put out tapes of staff telling him how to look disappointed during a car reveal. The reaction got worse, which made the History Channel think about ending the show. Instead, they put in place stricter rules that said at least 60% of the information had to be real. The show's rules also had an effect on Danny's marriage to Koker. People thought they were having trouble when they were seen fighting outside of a restaurant in 2017. Corey said in 2019 that she and her boyfriend hadn't been on vacation together in 3 years and that she felt like a lonely TV widow. In 2020, Corey filed for divorce, saying they had irreconcilable differences. Their marriage was over. Danny's friendship with Kevin Mack, his business partner, also got worse. Kevin said they didn't talk much outside of work because Danny was spending more and more time alone and focused on the show. Everyone on the set noticed that Danny was getting angrier. After an angry phone call with Corey, he wouldn't even leave his trailer one time. But things changed at one point. Danny and Corey got back together on Christmas Day 2020 after having an emotional talk in which Danny promised to put their relationship first. They closed Count's Vamped Rock Bar in early 2021 so they could focus on their marriage. For Counting Cars, Danny also chose to cut the number of shows from 26 per season to 16. Some friends were upset, but this choice gave him time to focus on his health and personal life. On December 14, 2021, Counting Cars fans were shocked. There were 10 seasons of the show before the History Channel quietly ended it. There was no sign that the last episode, Mustang Madness, would be the last one of the series when it played. People were confused because the show had a lot of fans and good numbers. For another thing, Season 10 was shorter than usual. Instead of the 26 to 30 shows that fans were used to, It only had 12. There was no expectation that this short season would be the last one. On top of that, the time was off. In 2021, sales of cars went up by 3%, which showed that the auto industry was recovering from the outbreak. It didn't make sense to stop a show about cars when the market was getting better. Counting Cars had become a fan favorite over the years. The show started in August 2012 and had 153 episodes that showed amazing custom builds and car repairs. Fans loved the show's tight schedules and challenges, like when Danny and his team had to fix up a 1969 Camaro in just 72 hours. The show was exciting to watch because they somehow pulled it off, but many storylines were still unfinished when the show stopped. In Season 8, for example, Danny bought a 1956 Chevy Bel Air and said he was going to make it into something amazing. Fans were even more disappointed because they never knew what the end score would be. Danny the Count Koker didn't say anything after the show was canceled, which wasn't like him at all. He had always liked interacting with the people who followed him on social media. But he didn't say anything for 47 days after December 14th. Daniel didn't know it would be the last episode when he sent out his last tweet the day before the finale. Watch Counting Cars tomorrow night for a brand new episode. You won't want to miss it. He didn't even go to the Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale auction, which he had done every year for 8 years. Fans started to worry. Counts Customs added to the rumors when, on January 5, 2022, they took down all mentions to Counting Cars from their website without giving a reason. Fans came into the shop in droves to ask questions. Some people thought Danny couldn't talk about the cancellation because he was legally bound to do so. Some people thought he was working on a new show. Some crazy rumors said he had even sold the business and quit. At the same time, items related to Counting Cars went through the roof in value. Danny wore a jacket in Season 3 that sold on eBay for $7,500, which is a lot more than it was worth. Danny finally spoke up on January 30, 2022. He put a picture of himself on Instagram next to a 1957 Chevy Bel Air that was only partly fixed up. "The journey never ends," it said under the picture. "The road ahead may be unclear, but stay tuned, my friends." The post was vague, but it comforted fans that he wasn't done. Even though the show ended, Counts Customs kept doing well. Danny and his team worked on bigger, more difficult projects that took more time. When they didn't have cams, they fixed up a 1967 Chevy Camaro in March 2023, which took more than 2,500 hours, which they couldn't have done because of the show's strict schedules. In addition, Danny started to fix up rare, expensive cars. A 1954 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing was the first car he worked on. The job was supposed to take 18 months and cost $1,500,000. The shop spent $250,000 on a 3D printer in July 2024. This made it possible for them to make unique car parts that they couldn't make before. Count Customs saw a 30% rise in customers when they weren't under the pressure of TV. Business grew quickly. In addition, Danny started working with famous people. In April 2024, he made a custom 1969 Mustang for star Chris Hemsworth. The inside was made of eucalyptus wood, and the paint job was based on Thor. The shop fixed up a $30 million Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic for a collector, and has even made motorcycles for royalty, like a special bike for the Prince of Monaco that was covered in gold and diamonds. Danny worked with Snoop Dogg to make a line of handmade lowriders in August 2024. All 10 cars were sold in just 48 hours, making millions of dollars. In 2024, Counts Customs had its best year ever, making $45 million, which is twice as much as it did in its last year on TV. Danny showed that he could stay ahead without cameras. In 2018, he shocked his friends by telling them he had a heart condition. A lot of people were shocked because he always looked so energetic on TV. Years of worry from running his business and making movies had worn him down. Danny, on the other hand, took charge of his health. He changed both physically and mentally by working out and eating better, which helped him lose over 50 pounds. He now has a lot more energy, which shows that you can always change yourself, no matter what. People who liked Danny Koker were shocked to hear that he had been given a 30-day jail term. The case involved controlled drugs and a former worker at Counts Customs. Koker didn't try to hide his problems. Instead, he admitted them and made a plan to change his life. Trying to stay sober was something he did, and his family, co-workers, and pros helped him. Koker also started talking about his problems in a more open way, which made him more understanding of people who were going through the same things. He earned back the trust of his peers over time and became a beacon of hope for others. He now sends motivational texts to people, letting them know that recovery is possible with hard work and the right help. His story shows how determination and hard work can help people get their lives back on track after failures. In 2024, Koker shocked everyone by saying that he was taking a year off from his business restoring cars to focus on his band Count 77. This choice was made after a historic show at Colorado's Red Rocks Amphitheater, where the band played for almost 4 hours in front of 9,000 people. It was a huge hit, especially since rock stars Alice Cooper and Sammy Hagar joined them on stage. After this, Koker and the band revealed the Grease and Gears Global Takeover, which is a huge tour around the world. On April 1, 2024, in Tokyo, Japan, at least 500 people came to a show to start the event. On some songs, the show had a full symphony orchestra, which gave their signature rock sound a new twist. A car lift brought different classic cars onto the stage during each show, which added to the beauty of the stage design. But the show wasn't just about music. Koker announced that half of the money raised would go to a new charity. It was the idea behind this group to help protect classic American muscle cars and teach young car fans how to fix them up. Many people were happy about this project, and Koker even worked with Elon Musk to create fuel that can be used in old cars that doesn't harm the environment. It made more than $100 million in sales in just 1 month, showing how popular the tour was. When Koker's love of music and cars came together in an amazing way, it showed that determination and hard work can lead to amazing results, even when things don't go as planned.